Okay, well, the headlines. Khmer Times talking about the World Bank's initiative to raise 54 million US dollars to help develop ecotourism in Cambodia. Will be the World Bank's largest tourism investment in that region. It will take 5 years in total to carry out, will involve 7 provinces. That includes Phnom Kulan, and that is in Siem Reap. And Siem Reap is a fantastic area. Then we have the Independents talking about Boris Johnson. He went to the United Nations General Assembly and he mentioned that it's time for the world to grow up and tackle climate change. And the summit next month in Glasgow must be a turning point for humanity. However, the Times, another newspaper here, says that at the same time, Boris Johnson is supporting more North Sea drilling. Despite all these climate pledges. So there was this report commissioned by the government recommending no new investments in new fossil fuel supply projects should be made if the world is to hit its net zero targets. So in the end, climate pledges, climate action, all well and good, as long as it doesn't interfere with the economy or with any money that is to be made from fossil fuels. Then we have some really good news. Jane Goodall pledges 1 trillion trees by 2030 in Africa's Sahel. She has a spiritual connection to trees. There was a study, a Swiss study by ETH Zurich, estimating that 1.2 trillion trees would be enough to counter for the decades worth of carbon emissions. Last but not least, people are traveling again. Is it now safe to fly? We ask an expert. Okay, holidays have resumed. I went to the business travel show last week. They were very optimistic and it was all about sustainability, which is absolutely great. But just how risky is flying? Now, according to this article from The Independent, challenge is not just on the plane, but also the airport and the whole journey. They say that airports actually being a much more risky proposition, bringing together people from all over the world. So, and then planes. They talk about HEPA filters. They say this is hospital grade safety. They say airplanes are as safe as hospitals. Now, how safe are hospitals? I heard of cases, this article here, it says 600 staff were plunged into isolation after being exposed to one COVID-infected individual. So I spoke with Erwin Boermans. He's in Australia. He's an expert in ventilation and ducted air systems in buildings and hospitals, who was called in to help design the best hospital, the American hospital in the UAE. And that is because normally hospitals are not that safe.
And the 2 most special engineering companies, they ordered me to come to discuss this very unique challenge that was put to them with a blanco check to design the world's best hospital. It was put out by the ruler of Dubai to 2 competing Dutch engineering companies. And they didn't know how to do it, so they ordered me to come because I had a whole suite of products I represented from Sweden, from Germany, from Denmark. And hot water service was related to the Legionella problem. They have in nearly every country near the equator. So I knew how to get rid of the Legionella bacteria really well. And then the golden staph bacteria was the other challenge where the sheikh lost another family member on. And the Legionella bacteria grow in the ducted systems on the inside of those aluminium tubes. It's dark, it's moisturous, and it's never been designed to be cleaned. So it's a fantastic paradise then for bacteria to flourish, but it's terrible for humans. After about 5 years, most real estate is past its warranty period, and then you see signs of out of control golden staph bacteria levels, and that's actively killing people. And I asked them to just take COVID swipes on the inside of those ducted systems in those specific buildings. they came back positive and the building was immediately closed. Usually they stripped out all the ducted systems.
Fair enough.
That's a drastic, very difficult exercise, I have to say.
Airplanes as safe as hospitals. I'm not having this chat to be negative. I like flying and I love traveling. But there are a lot of vested interests here that want you to believe that it's absolutely safe to fly. The safest way of transport, they say. Anyways, if hospitals are not that safe, then how safe are planes and these HEPA filters?
And there's this myth has been spread with HEPA filters that cleans the air fantastically. Magically, all nasties are gone. Now, that's not true. But I can remember when I started flying, it was still allowed to smoke. And the non-smokers were sitting in the front of the plane because in the back it was all blue from smoke. And it's the same with COVID coughing people. Those nasty bugs go to the back of the plane. And they infect the whole lot as a big tube behind. If it has recirculating air solutions, and the HEPA filters are not magical filtering everything out, I have to say. If you recirculate, then the nasties come in people's lungs and make people sick. If I explain it to children, they straight away understand it. If I tell them to open their window in their classroom, they do it. It's in aircraft even more difficult to fix than in buildings.